Mr. Secretary, last week, the president, I'm not sure if he was joking or how serious he was about it. He said he loves everything you're doing, but if you don't get the Fed to lower interest rates soon, he might fire your butt.
Well, Becky, if you were in the room, he was joking, and again, I think that we've gotten to this point where monetary policy has gotten very complicated, and it's more than just cutting rates. We've got this balance sheet, and what are we going to do with it? The Fed has taken us into a new regime, and what is called ample reserves regime, and it looks like that might be fraying a bit here in terms of whether the reserves are actually ample in the system. There are all these facilities and operations, the standing repo facility, and I think we've got to kind of simplify things. The other thing too is that when you were on with Steve Liesman, you were showing all the Fed governors and the regional bank presidents kind of like baseball cards. And I think it's time for the Fed to move back into the background like it used to do, calm things down and work for the American people, set monetary policy on a good course. That this isn't this isn't sport, it's people's lives. And I think we just need to calm down. All these speeches by these bank presidents that are just redundant. Why don't they actually just come out and talk about the meaningful issues in the American people rather than a short-term view of the next meeting?
Well, to be fair, the Fed governors, or the presidents of the banks at least, are hearing from people in their districts, and each of them may be hearing slightly different things about where the job market lays, where inflation lays, and that's probably useful information to hear from around the country. I guess my bigger question...
Well, no. But hold on for a minute, Becky. Yeah. Is that but that's not what they're talking about. That's not what they're talking about in their district. They're talking about some macro.
Well, Susan Collins was saying she hears about inflation. She was just on last week with Steve Liesman, the Boston Fed president, and she was saying that she does hear a lot about inflation from within her district. That was kind of the part of that interview that jumped out to me the most.
Well, the other thing I'll tell you that I find very interesting is, these regional presidents were supposed to be people from the district, and it was supposed to break the New York hold on the reserve banks. And we've got at least 3, maybe 4 of the reserve banks where people were hired from outside the district. They don't even live in their district. They commute back to New York. So these are New Yorkers. They going out into the country and then coming back on weekends. I'm not sure that's the way the Federal Reserve was designed.
Mr. Secretary, I'm curious how you grapple with